good afternoon, and good evening, depending wherever you are. And a big, big namaste from India and a hey from Sweden.
From Sweden. This is Tina Persson from Sweden. I'm sitting outside of Copenhagen in a little Swedish town called, actually the third biggest city in Sweden, Malmö. But as I say, as I know, there are people from all over the world, it is the third biggest city and it's only 350,000 people.
Well, brilliant, Tina. I'm sitting in New Delhi. Okay. It's a huge, huge city that way. Okay, guys, my name is Sandeep Amar Gupta. I work in the space of consciousness and profitability, and I help leaders and businesses to grow consciously by integrating, aligning their spiritual dynamics and economic strategies. And that also without burnout. And Tina, my friend, she is a adaptability intelligence expert. And she also works with leaders and businesses, helping them in their leadership journey and innovation journey.
Mm.
Tina and I, we met about 45 days back in Porto in a conference, and you'll be surprised, we did not exchange numbers. We did not exchange cards. We just exchanged our thoughts, our intent, our purpose, and we are here today. With this unique, I call it unique because I've hardly seen any conversation where the Eastern philosophy and the Western philosophy come together to create a holistic universal philosophy. So, Tina coming from Sweden, she brings the Western philosophy. I coming from India, I bring the Eastern philosophy. And together, we try and create, and obviously with all of you involved, we try and create a universal solution to the challenges we are facing today. Tina,
Mm. Thank you for that wonderful, wonderful introduction. And it's so nice when you say that. We didn't exchange business cards. I listened to your talk in Porto, you listened to mine, and something mutual was created when we started. That was a spark when we discussed. Because for those that don't know me, I've been working as a coach and mentor. I'm also an author, written some books and so about careers and leadership. And I coach so many people. And I have this amazing fortune, Sandeep, to met people from India, from United States, UK, China, Middle East, the Arabic world, and Germany, France, Portugal, Spain, and of course Sweden. And I'm always amazed how similar we are as humans. We have love, fear, we are anxious, we want to please, we want to succeed, and then still we are so different. And that has been a journey for me as a coach to travel along. So to talk and discuss with you about the Western and the Eastern Western perspectives going to be an absolute honor, to put it that way. And I hope to bring some perspectives on, particularly from my country, Sweden, because this is what I do with many of the clients I have, whether they are leaders, they come from Russia, Ukraine, or China, or India, United States. They say, Tina, I worked in this company now for a year. There's something I'm missing. And I'm always smiling. Yes, you had your honeymoon. Now it's time to understand what's really going on in Sweden here. And that goes when you come for careers or looking for a job. What is it that I don't understand? What is it what is the hidden thing that I don't see? And all countries have that. Don't they have that, Sandy?
what you're saying, Tina, I totally agree with you. Before the internet came in,
Yeah.
see, we believe that we are different.
Mm,
But honestly, today,
mm,
probably the world has shrunk into a global
mm.
village.
Yep.
Apparently, all of us look alike. When I
Mm,
say look alike, I mean they think alike,
mm.
and but still there are certain external cultural differences, and there are also certain, let me put it, certain drivers, the core drivers,
Mm,
which are driving the external culture, they are different, but at the core, at the bottom, at the foundation,
mm, mm,
the entire world bleeds red.
mm,
And that's my experience also, having worked with
mm.
US people,
Yeah.
Europeans, uh, in UAE, right across the world. Tina, we are going through a highly transformative phase.
Mm,
And I tell everyone that, look, it's a
mm.
brilliant time to be born and to work. But at the same time, I think the world is only seeing one dimension of AI.
Mm.
And in this world, nothing comes with one dimension. Everything has got two dimensions,
Yeah, maybe even three.
right?
Yeah.
Now, the human nature is such that we tend to focus on what benefits us. And that is what is happening with AI today.
Mm.
And how is it harming us? We realize when the water has flown over the head. So, today I thought let's talk about digital chaos to clarity because I
Mm.
find a lot of chaos in the
Yeah.
AI world, and not in the AI world, probably in the users, the leaders, the corporates, the people.
Mm.
And what I also fear, and I have experienced myself, that today instead of I driving the tech is driving me.
Yep. The tech has taken over the cockpit.
Yes. I remember, I was speaking to one of the AI company,
Mm.
MD, a couple of years back. I said, look, if you think that AI can be the pilot,
Mm.
you would be damaging society like crazy. And I'll come to that later.
Mm. Mm.
AI at best can be the co pilot.
Mm.
So, what is your experience in the Western world of AI? How are people tackling it? How are they getting impacted? So, would you like to share that with our audience?
Mm. I can see different perspectives here. I take it from a human perspective, and I can start sharing a little bit how I, let's say, bumped into the AI. I was fortunate enough to go to, and I think this is also part of that some people, let's say, are open minded enough to bump into things. I think you need to be open minded to bump into things. So I attended what we call a President Institute, it's sort of a mastery club here in the local region. And I went to one of those mastery classes, and there was an invited speaker. And he talked about AI, and that is now almost 4 years ago. Almost, I said, because this was in January. I don't remember the year, but 3.5 years ago. My and he showed us ChatGPT, the very first version of ChatGPT. And I, in that second and in that moment, just realized, because 2 years before that, I had started a training to become a certified adaptability intelligence and AQ certified coach. And suddenly it all made sense because I was sitting in the room realizing this is gonna make a huge impact on the future workforce. And at that moment, of course, I didn't know how and so, but I started to follow other people. And of course, I was one of those queuing to get access to ChatGPT. So I still remember when I was sitting there with the first version of ChatGPT, and me having dyslexia, I have a lot of creativity. Probably heard about that, Santil. A lot of creativity, a lot of dots, but I can't get it down on a paper really in a structured way. I got my best partner in crime ever called ChatGPT. I was in love. I just realized this is gonna change my life forever when it comes to creating, structure, organizing, helping my thoughts to come down on the paper. But I also very, very quickly working with AI myself that if you don't know what you do, AI will not bring clarity. It will not bring structure. It will bring chaos. So what I have learned in my journey, which I now help and support clients with, and what I see and hear from people as late as yesterday when I was attending a breakfast meeting, is that people that learn to work with AI, they don't have to be worried about the jobs. But if you are resistant and don't want to, or don't have the ability to communicate, as we say, prompting with AI, it will be difficult. So I can see in Sweden where I am, and now I talk about my country, there are sort of different sort of people. There are those who are extremely into AI, very interested, and they are all the way in. And then you have a proportion of people who are extremely resistant. And many of them I coach, they are academic people. They have studied for many years. They are PhDs, they're postdocs, and they are resistant. And here I can see we have a challenge. That's one perspective. The other one is how companies and organizations try to implement and how to implement it. And here we have big organizations that takes time to implement. And then we have the small new companies popping up. They are built from the beginning with AI and they will just explode. And the bigger ones, I can see they are fighting what to do with it because they have their structure. And to reorganize these companies from an organizational structure that is not top down, a classical Western way of working, maybe not always in Sweden, but top down in silos to become more flat and removing many layers of managers. That is what we need to do because we need to have these bigger teams. That I can see is a struggle in many companies. But we see it in numbers. We have both Volvo and Scania. We had now latest Novo Nordisk. They get rid of people. They lay off a lot of people. And certain positions will disappear. That is what I see. And that creates among people a feeling that AI is taking my job instead of thinking, no, it's a technology shift and I need to adapt, I need to learn. AI will never take my job because, as I said, it can't take your job. But you need to collaborate with a new person or machine. Then you will stay in business. So we are not in the middle. We are just in the beginning, I believe, Sandeep, in this sort of transformation. And people react very differently to it.
Yeah, what you say, Tina, is absolutely right. To any change, resistance is there.
Mm.
I remember in the early 80s, when the computers were coming in,
Oh, yeah.
it was the same resistance. Our jobs
Yep.
would go, and no jobs have gone.
Yep.
On the contrary, a new industry evolved.
Exactly. More jobs came
Yeah,
out
more
of it.
jobs. And even I'm a great fan of AI.
Me too.
And AI is helping me in a number of ways. But my problem is much deeper. When the proponents of AI, position AI as the God, AI
Yeah.
is not God.
No.
AI has been created by human beings. And since I work a lot in the human potential dimension, right, what I fear and I'm seeing, Tina, our brain is the only organ in our body which the more you use, the sharper it becomes.
Mm.
The lesser you use, the duller it becomes.
Mm.
Now, what is AI doing? AI is taking away the power from people to think. As a result, they are getting duller. Their brains, take my case, I'm a chartered accountant, right? And I did my CA way back in 79, 80. When we were doing our articles, we could run our finger right through the page across numbers and the total would be here.
Mm. Mm.
Today, we need a calculator. Even I,
Mm. Mm.
for small calculations. Why? Because the practice. has gone away. Now, I'm shifting gears, and let me share a small story with you, Tina, how the brain works. A friend of mine, he's a philosopher and a professor in New York in one of the universities. And he's, old school like me, loving to use your pen and paper. So one day he said, class, I'll take your test. But this time it won't be on a computer. It would be on paper and pencil. So he says there were 15, 20 students, all of them. He wrote on the piece of paper, 50% were okay, legible. The balance 50%, some were totally illegible. So he called them, he said, can you help me to understand what have you written? The students say, sir, even we can't read our own handwriting because we don't know how to write. So now this is one thing, if the reliance on AI increases, rampantly grows, is not purposeful, is not thoughtful, is not mindful, this is what AI has got the propensity to do the human mind, which means to do to the universities. I mean, to the society.
Yeah, but universities, I think, is a good aspect here because what you say is actually something I like to strengthen as well. That, and I noticed that in my coaching business, I use AI as a co-creator in my coaching sessions. We have three now in the coaching session. It's me, my client, and an AI. And it is about the prompting, how I communicate with AI. I need to be in charge here, and I need to evaluate critically what comes out of it. And if I'm not there learning to communicate, and I like to take it from, I can communicate with you, Sandeep, I can communicate with my manager and team members. But if I communicate badly, nothing good will come out of it. And that is the same thing with the AI machine. And this is maybe the sort of different ways we can go with a machine. It can be, as you say, we become lazy or we become even more creative because we learn to use or collaborate and co-create AI. And I can see there might be this risk here, for people that can co-create together with the machines and those who might not have the ability to do that. What's your perspective on that one?
Uh, I love your example. Three people, your client,
Yeah,
you,
yeah,
and the machine.
yeah.
Who has the whip in his or her hand? It is you who has the whip. And why do you have the whip? Because you're clear in your purpose. For what purpose are you using?
Mm, mm,
Reckless adaptation of any tool,
mm,
lands up creating chaos. I remember a small story, Tina.
mm,
There was a carpenter and he used to carve beautiful things. So someone goes to him and says, how do you carve such beautifully? And on different woods. He says, look, first I go and study the wood,
mm,
not the tool. I go and study the wood.
mm.
Then I decide what am I going to do with that wood. And then I look at the tool. But today, what's happening, Tina? People are adapting the tool first,
Mm,
probably fearing they'll be
yeah.
left out, they would
Mm,
lose out, and then trying to fit themselves as per the norms of the tool. So, personally, I think
mm,
being purposeful and having a clarity why do I want to use it?
exactly.
How will
That
it
is the
benefit?
clarity. Mm,
I think that is grossly missing because everyone is rushing into chat GPT.
mm.
Everyone is
As
running into
ChatGPT, yeah, right,
so
right.
chat GPT has become more like a metaphor for the entire AI world, which we use. So that's
Yeah,
very,
I think this is, you saw now, this is my iPhone because I don't have a calculator any longer here. But I remember when I, in school, as you said, I was writing by hand, and then the calculator was introduced. And I belonged to the generation when the calculator was introduced. Texas was the name of my calculator. I don't remember the name. I think it was T320. And the teachers and the trainers said that if you start using the calculator, you're going to be lazy and all of that. And I think, I don't know who did the study, but it came out fairly soon, some years later, many years later, I don't know. But in order to use a calculator efficiently, you actually need to be able to calculate. Yeah. And I would say that that's a good analog to AI. If you use AI without knowledge, purpose, and what you're going to use, it's going to be chaos. And I tested that myself when I was writing the book. I mean, it doesn't work, in the end. That is a cool creation, but it needs to be. And this is, if you talk organizations, and I say, to as one leader said, I have so many tools and digital tools and platforms, it's confusing in my organization. Yeah, it's because you miss the purpose and the clarity. So you need clarity, what you're going to use it for, well, etc. So I completely agree with you that using a technical, replacing humans only with technology will lead to a hobby company. As I said, you can't, it will be a technology first, will be a hobby. You need to get the humans in. Yeah. Then you have a sort of an organization. I don't know how to express it, but you can't disconnect the human from the technology. Yeah. And
let
think
me,
that technology lead itself, technology is not a leader. Yeah.
no, you're absolutely right, Tina. And let's quickly look at what business is. You see, people define business differently in different ways. For me, business is nothing else but a socio-economic relationship between three sets of people: people who establish the business,
Mm,
people who work for the business,
mm,
and people who consume the products and services of the business.
mm,
They are like the heart. I mean, they are like the spirit, mind, and body.
mm,
Remove one, you don't exist. Similarly, from business, remove the customers, the business doesn't exist. Remove the workers, the business does not exist. Remove the owners, the business does not exist.
mm,
So, business is totally human dependent. So, nothing can replace human connection. And reckless introduction and adaptation of any tool leads to a lot of internal conflict, internal noise. And the Eastern thought is that you can manage the external noise, but it's very difficult to manage the internal noise.
yeah. Yeah, I would say the Swedish noise is we use technology to be efficient.
Mhm.
Mhm. So if you take the Swedish approach, efficiency, simplicity, and efficiency, I would say it's a lot Swedish. But there's another thing, and see how I can phrase that. See what you think about that, Samtir. Now I'm improvising here a little bit, but if you take Sweden as a country from historical perspective, and very close to Germany mindset, their efficiency and working hard and very 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 technology driven, because both Germany and Sweden are very very engineering countries. We had in Sweden the forest, the metals, and in Germany had the carbon, and so. And in that, in Sweden's system, we sort of have built a system with people, but we haven't built a system for people. So this system with people was extremely efficient in the whole industrialization. where you had workers that went to the factory, and we have a system. You hear that a lot if you listen to Swedish politicians. And sometimes I wonder if they use the right preposition here. Because I said, yeah, you built a system in the 50s, 60s with people. You squeezed the people in. You had the factories. You built the houses. And the people just had to adapt to it. And that did work because we were so homogeneous as a workforce. But now, as you started the podcast, the world is shrinking.
Mhm.
People are very different. And if you want to create, and coming back to adaptability and so about innovation, because we need innovation, we need entrepreneurs, then you can't build a system with people. You have to build a system for people, because otherwise technology will take over and people will just be in the system, and they will not be nor creative or innovating. They will just adapt to the system, and they don't need to adapt to the system. It is the system that need to adapt to me, so I can give back to the system. That's another way of looking at it. And this is actually what I see a Swedish problem, and maybe even a German problem, that they also have this German system, and it's simply not really efficient if you take it. So what was efficient many years ago and worked well for many years doesn't really serve us any longer. And this is also part of what I think the confusion, if I say Europe, comparing to United States, where in United States you can flip the system very, very, very quickly in a brutal way. This is just spontaneously what I hear when I listen to you, Sandy, when you, in your words, describe, because as a Swede, this is what I feel. Oh, yeah, the system.
You talked of United States. The mental health issues are
Mm,
maximum in United States
mm,
because if you have a tunnel vision,
mm,
only efficiency, only the bottom line,
mm,
and you ignore the human dimensions
mm.
of business, mental health issues
Yeah,
are bound to happen.
yeah, and we see that in the Western world today. It's
And,
huge. Yeah.
we are seeing them even in India because you see the entire world is
Mm,
thinking alike, right? Because of the computers today, because of the
right.
internet, the entire world is thinking alike. But still, there are certain different drivers.
Mm,
As far as India is concerned,
mm.
if I go to ancient India, say 3,000 years back, they talked of adaptability, they talked of earning money, and they talked of self regulation, they talked of purpose. Now, you talked of simplicity, you talked of efficiency, the systems. And the moment you add purpose, the simplicity, the efficiency, the effective, the mechanism, plus purpose converts into wisdom.
Mm.
And what I see in the rush to adapt to AI, take advantage of AI thoughtlessly, is not getting converted into wisdom. It is getting converted into destruction. Now, why do I say so? Number one, destruction of the human psycho.
Mm.
The impact is, we are not feeling the impact today. But yes, 10 years from now, 5 years from now, we'll definitely feel the impact. Like the impact of the smartphones. Impact of the smartphones, you see, we are feeling it everywhere. Impact of the social media, we are feeling everywhere. The negative impact. There are a lot of positives, but the negative. So for me, it's very important that you've got to be very clear of the purpose. AI is a brilliant thing,
Mm.
and you cannot afford to forget it has been created by your experiences. It is fenced by the human experience, whereas the human beings, that is the creator, have got the ability to go beyond and think beyond their experience. You see, to give you an example, a human mind
Uh,
will say, okay, I can go and construct a house on the sun. And this is a and just a fancy thought, or say, forget the sun is too hot. Science says that. Okay, I can go and live on Mars. AI will say, you cannot go and live on Mars. And the truth is, tomorrow, after 50 years, there could be some mechanism that I can go and live on Mars. So, imagination, visualization of the future, which helps us to solve problems. AI solves problem only within the framework what it has been tailored and tutored to solve, not new problems. Number two, AI has got the propensity to convert fiction into reality. You keep churning the same thing repeatedly, it becomes reality.
mm.
And aren't we finding that in the elections which are happening world over, the government elections, fake narratives come, people believe it's true, they are swayed. So, on one hand, it's the mental chaos, on the second hand, it's also the social chaos which AI is creating. When it is not used judiciously, it is not used with a purpose, it is not used mindfully, and it is given the status of a driver, not an assistant driver.
I see here, Sandeep, a word coming up, and now I need to come in, otherwise I forget it. You see, I'm so inspirational driven, so many things pops up. But I think both companies, I mean, companies and organization, that's people. Without people, you don't have a company. You mentioned that. And without an organization, without people, no organization. It's very simple. It will just be an empty building with machines. So to lead today, both in career coaching, I think career coaching is more important than ever. And I say that because people need some sort of career and life guidance, and we need to speak more openly about it. But one word that I think is very, very important that we can see coming with the younger generation is meaning. What is the meaning? And in the Western world, we have sort of neglected that we need a meaning. What is the higher meaning of me? And I'm not in philosophy, but I think this is really important to find the meaning. So because you can't be that this is my life and then that's nothing. That what I'm doing here, what's the meaning of that? And some higher fate or sort of thing. So clarity and meaning needs to be added to both people in their careers so they find their own meaning. And then you need to get the team meaning, and you need to get the meaning of the organization. And that means that if you have leaders, they don't see the meaning and they don't consider the word of meaning being important, that will be or lead to an organization in chaos. Because there's no meaning, there's no hope. That's what, when you speak, this is what pops up in my head.
What you say is totally right. And our friend Cecilia, she's in UAE, a friend of mine,
Yeah,
she says, very interesting topic, mental chaos, social chaos.
yeah, yeah,
So,
exactly.
so thank you, Cecilia. Yeah,
It was a very good one.
yeah,
Mental chaos, social chaos. That's
yeah.
completely correct. Yeah, yeah.
So, and I was thinking, what could the way out be? You see, this discussion is one discussion. We can keep going on and
Yeah,
on,
yeah. We can do that. We can do
right?
that.
Number one, it is you got to understand the ecosystem
Mm,
first in which you plan to use this artificial intelligence.
mm.
AI cannot determine the ecosystem. It
Nope.
is the ecosystem. which you got to understand. Number two, you also got to understand, now coming to that meaning part, you got to be self aware. Why do you think and behave the way you do? I think that's very critical for every leader, every organization. That the organization, for every organization, you see, it becomes the purpose, their vision, mission. So, in simple terms, why do you think and behave the way you do? So, that's the culture of the organization, again, driven by the leaders. And number, now, when it comes to action, if your glass is full, you need to empty something and then add something to it. So instead of loading your life and your organization with new tools every day, first get rid of what is not working, create space, and then add the new tool. First thing, you create space, because if you don't create space, absorption would be very, very difficult. Number two, start with a purpose. For what are you going to use that tool? Don't start with the purchase because everyone is doing it. It is something like this. Someone says, I want to buy a bulldozer. I say, okay, why do you want to buy a bulldozer? Because my neighbor bought one.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, your neighbor is in the construction business and you are in the gardening business. You don't need a bulldozer. Number three, build human capabilities, build human capacity to start with. Otherwise, what happens? It's like giving a machine gun in the hands of a child, and you can't afford to do that.
Yeah.
Take the case of a knife. When used properly, it helps you. Otherwise, it cuts you. So, develop that human capability to manage AI and create a conscious tech culture. You see, pro- uh, even the AI creators, they got to be conscious. They don't need to compete with each other out of ego. They need to keep the social wealth creation dimension in mind. They need to keep the social values in mind. They need to get the filters in mind. And lastly, I'll say, with AI, when you bring intention, purpose, mindfulness, with innovation, and that is AI today in our discussion, we create a magical, healthy, beautiful society. That's my take.
And my take, I agree with you. I always put my life in perspective to my relatives that lived 150 years ago. Then it's easy to compare, I think, in many ways. And that is to have perspectives in history. And I think that's maybe something to add. Leaders that know their history, not only their country, but also read history about other cultures. Other
Mhm.
countries can put today's society and company in a bigger context. There's something I like to add. You said many really good things here. It's space in your brain. Yeah, without space in your brain, then AI become useless because it will be chaos. So mindfulness is very, very important to zoom out and take time to rethink. I also comes up with some ideas here now that coming back to what I see is that many leaders I talk with, middle management or executives, they are experts. They come to me, I'm an expert, and they are, I'm specialized a lot in engineering and IT and life science. They are experts and they feel like experts. They are merit by titles and etc. And here is to think and build self awareness that I am good enough. I don't need to be an expert. I don't need to know everything as a manager and a leader. I can be a facilitator. So when leaders have self-limiting beliefs in the leadership skills, it is when they think they need to know more than the people they manage. Because that's the moment they say, no, you just have to learn a new tool, a coaching leadership style. That means that you work 3 people and you don't lose authority by that, you grow.
You
But
know,
it means you have to step away from that expert role. And this is where you come in, when you say that it is not the tools. You're going to be more manager than ever when you work 3 people in a human perspective.
right. We have a question from Dr. Alka Chaddha.
Oh,
Yeah, she says, what is the higher meaning of me? What a great question.
what a great question. Yes.
Yeah. So,
The
all yours.
higher meaning of me is, for me, when I can be myself with the people I live with, I work with, and collaborate with, to be me. I don't have to fake myself. I am me, not my title, not my education. It is me as human being. When I can be my true self. And when people around me accept me for all my weaknesses and strengths and failures, because I'm human and I do mistakes, I say stupid things. And what I've learned is I have to ask for forgiveness. But being me is also that I learn from that, Sandeep, and that the people around me believe in me. That is the higher me for me. Yeah.
Well,
In this world.
obviously, this world, right?
Yeah.
Uh, it's a very difficult question, Alka, if you really ask me. It means different things to different people. Like,
It
and I
does.
tend, and I tend to resonate with what Tina said. The higher meaning of me is I accepting myself as the starting point and keep refining me so that the sense of pleasantness in my being increases. For me, there's nothing as happiness or sadness. It's a sense of pleasantness versus unpleasantness. The more pleasant I feel internally, the more complete I feel. So, the higher meaning of me is when I am a complete being, as per my perception. When I say my, I mean each one by his or her own perception. Philosophically, yes. You mean something like the source from which you have come, but that becomes a discussion for another day.
Yeah, it's a discussion for another day. But the me, for me, also develops,
Yes.
then become more me. Yeah. It's a very good question, a
Yes,
philosophical.
it is. So, Tina, I think we have been together for 45 minutes, right? We have been talking about various
Yeah.
dimensions. So, what would your last advice to people be?
Yeah, I actually wrote a little quote here when we were talking, and my last advice is that everything we do, in this, if we keep it to digitalization and AI and so, that all these things happening with technology, if we take organization leaders using technology, remember that this transformation, without you, the people around you, your team, the organization, that's the humans. It's just for your company and organization and for yourself a very expensive hobby. And we have seen these companies, they don't last for very long. Companies that I see in my country, Sweden, that last for long, and we have them, many of them. IKEA is one of them. They have a higher purpose and they work with people. And they always say that when you talk with them. So please don't make AI just an expensive hobby in your company. Work with the people. Yeah.
And taking what Tina said, taking it forward, I'll say, let us move from digital chaos to digital clarity, not by adding more tools, but by adding more consciousness,
Mm,
more awareness,
mm,
more self introspection. And from the Eastern perspective, let me give you the formula. It's a simple thing. Right intent, that's the right purpose you got to think, into right mindset. To achieve the right intent, you got to have the right mindset. When both these things come together, they translate into right action. And when the right action happens, believe me, it takes you from chaos to clarity.
mm. It does.
It takes you from it enables you to grow and succeed consciously, and that also without a burnout. And I'm using this word burnout because 80 to 90% world population has faced burnout on and off, or at least once in their lifetime. And
Mm.
that is a huge, huge number.
It's a huge number. Mm.
Yeah.
And from that Western perspective, I add on, don't fear of falling behind. Don't panic. Don't over rely on the tech here. Take a deep breath, reflect, take a step, zoom out, and you will be more efficient and more human.
That's it. And friends, don't forget to have intent.
Mm.
Why do you want to adapt? Be clear, and I promise you, it's a great, great tool. So, should we end the talk today,
Yeah,
Tina?
I think we should end. You have Saturday afternoon. I have Saturday before lunch. So my Saturday has started, and I'm so delighted, Sandeep, to have you on screen. And I actually sitting thinking here, just a little reflection that I sit here now in Sweden, south
Hmm.
part of Sweden, you in Delhi, and I'm thinking about if I could travel back in time and meet my grandparents, 100 years ago, and tell them, in the future, I'm going to sit and chat with an marvelous, wonderful man from New Delhi, India, and I'm going to do it from my flat through some sort of cloud. They wouldn't have believed me. But so that's how far the world has come, that we can sit and do this. And I think this is just how technology catalyze and facilitate and in that way bring us so much closer. And I think it's amazing. I think it's amazing actually when I think about it.
So, so thank you, Tina. For I think at least I enjoyed the conversation today,
Yeah. Yeah,
and I'm
me
sure
too.
even our audience must have
Yeah.
enjoyed it.
And I
Well,
say thank you
guys,
for those joining. Yeah.
and well, this is the Delhi pollution. Delhi is very polluted these days.
Uh,
So, folks, next Saturday, same time, it'll be Tina hosting it, and we would love to have you back with us. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye bye.